Dr. Kesnovan stood before the High Council of the Zephyrian Empire, his purple skin darker than usual with stress. The massive chamber gleamed with advanced technology that had dominated 12 star systems for over 1,000 years. Today he would try once more to warn them about the small blue planet called Earth. "Honorable council members," he began, his voice steady despite his fear. "I have studied the humans for 10 years. They are not like other species we have conquered. They are dangerous." Supreme Chancellor Quinwraith leaned forward on his crystal throne. His golden eyes showed no interest, only irritation. "Dangerous? Dr. Kesnovan, these humans still use chemical weapons. Their fastest ships barely reach half-light speed. How can such primitives threaten our empire?" Commander Vex Thalar, the empire's top military leader, laughed coldly. "Doctor, I have reviewed your reports. Humans fight each other constantly. They cannot even unite their own planet. When our fleet arrives, they will surrender immediately." Dr. Kesnovan activated his holographic display. Images of humans filled the air above the council table. "Please look at the evidence. Humans survived an ice age with stone tools. They crossed oceans in wooden boats. When their cities burn, they rebuild them bigger. When diseases kill millions, they find cures. They never give up," the council members whispered among themselves. Some seemed curious, but most looked bored. Chancellor Quinwraith raised his hand for silence. "Dr. Kesnovan, your research shows humans fighting with sticks and stones just centuries ago. Our warriors use plasma weapons and energy shields. Our ships can destroy planets. What can these humans possibly do against us?" "That is exactly what worries me," Dr. Kesnovan replied. "Every time humans face impossible odds, they find new ways to survive. They adapt faster than any species in our records. Their creativity has no limits." Commander Vex Thalar stood up, his tall frame casting a shadow across the room. "Creativity means nothing against superior firepower. I could conquer Earth with just 50 ships. These humans will kneel before our might like all the others." Dr. Kesnovan showed more images. Humans working together to save strangers from burning buildings. Humans sharing food during famines. Humans teaching their children to be brave in dark times. "Look at this," he said desperately. "When humans are threatened, they unite. They will die for people they do not even know. They fight harder when they are losing. This is not normal behavior for any species." The council remained unmoved. Chancellor Quinwraith's patience was running out. "Dr. Kesnovan, you speak of human bravery and unity. But bravery cannot stop plasma bolts. Unity means nothing when their cities burn from orbit. You waste our time with fears about primitives." Meanwhile, far from the Zephyrian capital, Captain Jake Miller guided his cargo ship through the asteroid belt near Jupiter. Miller was a simple man who had spent 20 years hauling supplies between Earth colonies. His ship, the Lucky Strike, was old and slow, but it had never let him down. Today was different. His sensors picked up something unusual hiding behind a large asteroid. Miller moved closer, curious about the strange energy readings. What he found changed everything. The object was clearly not human. It was smooth and silver, about the size of a small car. Strange symbols covered its surface and it hummed with unknown energy. Miller had discovered a Zephyrian surveillance probe. The probe detected Miller's ship and tried to escape. But Miller was a skilled pilot who knew every rock in the asteroid belt. He chased the alien device through the floating stones, dodging and weaving like he was playing a game. The probe's computer decided Miller had seen too much. It began to self-destruct, but Miller was ready. In the few seconds before the explosion, he managed to connect his ship's computer to the alien device. Files and data flooded into his systems before the probe vanished in a bright flash. Miller stared at his screens in shock. The files were encrypted, but some images were clear enough. They showed Earth from space with detailed maps of major cities. There were pictures of human military bases and analyses of Earth's defenses. Someone had been watching humanity for a long time. On Luna Station, Pete Johnson was having problems with the mining equipment again. As supervisor of the lunar mining colony, Pete dealt with broken machines every day. But today felt different. His workers seemed nervous and strange reports were coming from Earth. Lisa Grant, a communications officer for Earth Defense Force, was having the strangest day of her career. Captain Miller's ship had arrived at Mars Station with data that made no sense. The files contained technical specifications for weapons and ships that were far beyond human technology. Lisa worked through the night, trying to understand what Miller had found. The translation program slowly decoded fragments of the alien language. What she read made her blood run cold. The files contained invasion plans for Earth. They listed human population centers, military installations, and resource locations. The aliens had been studying humanity for centuries, preparing for conquest. But most disturbing of all, the aliens seemed to think conquering Earth would be easy. Back in the Zephyrian Council chamber, Dr. Kesnovan made one final attempt to convince his leaders. I beg you to reconsider. Send a larger fleet. Study the humans more carefully. Do not underestimate them simply because their technology seems primitive. Chancellor Quinwraith had heard enough. He stood from his throne, his voice echoing through the chamber. Dr. Kesnovan, your fears are noted but dismissed. Commander Vexthalar, you have permission to proceed with the invasion of Earth. Take a standard conquest fleet and add this system to our empire. Commander Vexthalar saluted proudly. It will be my honor, Chancellor. I estimate Earth will surrender within 3 days of our arrival. The humans will not even have time to organize resistance. Dr. Kesnovan felt his heart sink as the council dismissed him. He had tried to warn them, but they would not listen. The Zephyrian Empire had grown comfortable with easy victories against primitive worlds. They could not imagine facing an enemy that might actually fight back effectively. As the council members filed out of the chamber, already forgetting about the small blue planet, Dr. Kesnovan gathered his research files. He would continue studying the humans. If the invasion went wrong, someone would need to understand why. The decision was made. In 6 months, the Zephyrian fleet would arrive at Earth, expecting another quick conquest. They had no idea they were about to face the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Dangerous not because of their weapons or technology, but because of something the Zephyrians had forgotten how to value, the refusal to give up when all hope seemed lost. Admiral Rick Stone stood in the command center of Earth Defense Force headquarters, watching the screens that showed impossible things. Alien ships were dropping out of hyperspace all around Earth's solar system. They were massive, sleek vessels that made humanity's best warships look like toys. How many? Stone asked his aide. 200 confirmed contacts, sir. More arriving every minute. Stone nodded grimly. Thanks to Jake Miller's discovery 6 months ago, Earth had not been caught completely unprepared. But preparation could only do so much against technology that was centuries ahead of humanity's best efforts. The alien fleet moved into position around Earth like pieces on a chessboard. Their formation was perfect, mathematical, and utterly overwhelming. Then came the message, broadcast on every frequency simultaneously. People of Earth. The voice was cold and mechanical, translated by alien computers. I am Commander Vexthalar of the Zephyrian Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Surrender immediately and your deaths will be quick and merciful. To prove their point, the aliens targeted Luna Station. Pete Johnson and his miners watched in horror as energy beams lanced down from the alien ships. The mining facility's shields lasted exactly 3 seconds before the entire complex vanished in a ball of fire. Or so it appeared. Admiral Stone had spent months preparing for this moment. Luna Station had been evacuated weeks ago, its personnel relocated to hidden bases throughout the asteroid belt. What the aliens destroyed was an empty shell, rigged with explosives to create an impressive fireworks display. But the aliens didn't know that. To Commander Vexthalar, the destruction of Luna Station proved human weakness, one demonstration of superior firepower, and the humans would surely realize resistance was hopeless. Dr. Amy Chen had never expected to make first contact with aliens under these circumstances. As Earth's leading expert in linguistics and alien communication, she had dreamed of peaceful meetings and cultural exchange. Instead, she found herself preparing for the most important deception in human history. When the Zephyrian landing shuttles touched down in major cities around the world, Dr. Chen was ready with carefully prepared surrender documents. She played the part of a defeated human leader, bowing before the alien commanders and agreeing to Earth's unconditional submission. But while she spoke words of surrender, Dr. Chen was studying everything about the aliens. Their language patterns, their body language, their technology, and most importantly, their psychology. Every interaction was recorded and analyzed by hidden human observers. The Zephyrians were exactly what Dr. Kesnovan had warned about, though they would not have seen it as a warning. They were logical, methodical, and completely convinced of their own superiority. They followed procedures that had worked on dozens of other worlds, never considering that humans might be different. Colonel Matt Rogers had been a Special Forces operator for 15 years. but he had never faced a challenge like this. His job was to coordinate resistance activities while making sure the aliens never suspected organized opposition existed. The key was making everything look like random acts of individual rebellion. When Zephyrian patrols went missing, it had to seem like accidents or isolated attacks by desperate civilians. When alien equipment malfunctioned, it needed to appear like normal technical failures, not sabotage. Rogers worked with people like Ben Carter, a simple engineer who had become one of humanity's most valuable resistance fighters. Carter had a gift for understanding how machines worked, even alien machines. When Zephyrian scout ships crashed or were abandoned, Carter was there to salvage useful parts. Look at this. Carter showed Rogers a piece of alien technology he had modified. Their energy cells are incredibly efficient, but they're designed for their specific equipment. If you rewire them like this, they can power our weapons for weeks. Carter's workshop became a miracle factory, where alien technology was combined with human ingenuity. Plasma rifles were jury-rigged to work with human targeting systems. Zephyrian communication devices were hacked to intercept alien transmissions. Energy shields were adapted to protect human vehicles. The aliens noticed these small losses, but Commander Vex Thalar dismissed them as unimportant. Every conquered world had some rebels and criminals who caused minor problems. His forces would hunt them down eventually, once the main population was properly controlled. What Vex Thalar didn't understand was that he was facing an entire planet of rebels. Every human who smiled and obeyed the alien occupiers during the day was gathering intelligence, sharing information, and preparing for the moment when Earth would strike back. Lisa Grant had been promoted to head of intelligence analysis, and her work was crucial to the resistance. The alien communications she intercepted revealed their military procedures, supply schedules, and most importantly, their weaknesses. They rely completely on their computer systems, she explained to Admiral Stone during one of their secret meetings. Everything is automated, controlled by artificial intelligence. They don't adapt well when things don't go according to plan. This information was invaluable to resistance leaders like Pete Johnson, who had survived the destruction of Luna Station by being off-shift in a hidden bunker. Johnson had regrouped with surviving miners and now led guerrilla attacks on alien supply convoys. The miners knew every rock and hiding place in the asteroid belt. They used this knowledge to ambush Zephyrian ships, striking fast and disappearing before the aliens could respond. Their weapons were crude compared to alien technology, but they were used by people who understood that survival meant thinking faster than your enemy. Dr. Kes Novan was growing worried. His daily reports to Commander Vex Thalar showed disturbing patterns. Human resistance was not decreasing as expected. Instead, it seemed to be getting more organized and effective. "Commander, I recommend increasing security measures," he advised during one of their briefings. "The humans are adapting to our presence faster than predicted." Vex Thalar waved away his concerns. "Dr. Kesnovan, you worry too much about these primitives. Yes, some rebels cause minor problems, but they cannot threaten our occupation. Our technology is superior in every way." But technology wasn't everything, as Vex Thalar was about to learn. The first major shock came when Pete Johnson's miners seized control of a Zephyrian supply ship. They had used mining explosives to disable the vessel's engines, then boarded it with nothing but determination and improvised weapons. The alien crew surrendered quickly when faced with humans who seemed completely insane by Zephyrian standards. The miners were willing to fight in damaged sections of the ship with no environmental protection, using tactics that made no logical sense but somehow worked. Within hours, Johnson and his team had not only captured an intact alien vessel, but also learned to operate its basic systems. They immediately used the ship's communication array to broadcast a message to every human resistance cell on Earth. "This is Pete Johnson calling all units. We've got ourselves an alien ship and it still works. The monsters can bleed people. They can be beaten." The message spread across Earth's hidden networks like wildfire. Humans everywhere heard that their enemies were not invincible. The impossible had become possible, and if it could happen once, it could happen again. Commander Vex Thalar was furious when he learned about the captured supply ship. He demanded immediate retaliation, but his officers couldn't find the miners. They had vanished into the asteroid belt as if they had never existed. "Sir?" one of his subordinates reported nervously. "We're also receiving reports of increased resistance activity in every sector." Equipment failures are up 300%. Patrol casualties are climbing daily. Vexthalar felt the first cold touch of doubt. This was not how conquered worlds were supposed to behave. The humans should have been broken by now, grateful for alien rule and eager to cooperate. Instead, they seemed to be getting stronger. Captain Sue Walsh had commanded Earth Defense Force cruisers for 12 years, but she had never expected to captain an alien warship. The captured Zephyrian vessel, now renamed Defiance, was unlike anything human engineers had ever seen. Its systems were incredibly advanced, but they were also strangely limited. The aliens built everything to work perfectly under normal conditions, explained Dr. Kevin Liu, the physicist leading the reverse engineering team. But they didn't plan for creative modifications. Watch this. Liu showed Walsh how he had combined Zephyrian shield generators with human kinetic weapons. The result was devastating. The alien energy shields could protect against plasma weapons, but they were never designed to stop old-fashioned bullets moving at incredible speeds. Their shields actually accelerate our projectiles, Liu grinned. We can punch through their best defenses using technology they consider primitive. Meanwhile, Tony Martinez was achieving what the aliens thought was impossible. The young cybersecurity expert had found ways to hack into Zephyrian communication networks. The aliens used quantum encryption that should have been unbreakable, but they had made one crucial mistake. They assume everyone thinks like they do, Martinez explained to Colonel Rogers. Their security is perfect against logical attacks, but it has no protection against creative solutions. I'm not trying to break their codes. I'm making their own systems think I belong there. The intelligence Martinez gathered was invaluable. Earth's resistance leaders learned about Zephyrian fleet movements, supply schedules, and command structures. But more importantly, they discovered the aliens' greatest weakness. They can't adapt, Lisa Grant reported during a secret meeting of resistance leaders. When their standard procedures fail, they just try the same procedures again, but with more force. They don't understand that we're learning from every encounter. This insight led to humanity's first major space victory. Maria Santos, a former racing pilot, had volunteered to test the first human Zephyrian hybrid fighter. The small craft combined alien technology with human engineering in ways that violated every principle of proper spacecraft design. It's completely unstable. Santos laughed as she ran through the pre-flight checklist. The aliens would never build something this dangerous. That's exactly why it'll work. Santos and her squadron of hybrid fighters ambushed a Zephyrian patrol convoy near Mars. The alien ships were faster and more heavily armed, but their pilots couldn't predict human tactics. Santos flew her fighter through an asteroid field at speeds that terrified her own wingmen, using the rocks as cover and weapons. The Zephyrian pilots followed their training perfectly. They maintained proper formation, used standard attack patterns, and communicated through official channels. They also died quickly when Santos's squadron used the asteroids as slingshots, launching surprise attacks from impossible angles. Human fighter pilot to alien fleet. Santos broadcast on the Zephyrian command frequency. Welcome to Earth's neighborhood. Hope you enjoy your stay because you won't be leaving. The message was pure psychological warfare, but it worked. Word spread through the alien fleet that human pilots were insane and unpredictable. Zephyrian crews began to hesitate during encounters, unsure what crazy tactic the humans might try next. Dr. Kesnovan was becoming desperate. His warnings about human adaptability were finally being proven correct, but no one wanted to hear them. Commander Vexthalar was under pressure from the Zephyrian High Council to complete the conquest of Earth quickly and efficiently. The humans are dismantling our tactical doctrine, Kesnovan reported during another briefing. Every encounter teaches them more about our weaknesses, while we learn nothing about theirs. They're using our own technology against us in ways we never imagined. Vexthalar's response was predictable. Then we need more ships and stricter security. Double the patrols, increase surveillance, show these humans what happens when they defy the Zephyrian Empire. But more ships just meant more targets for human raiders. Increased patrols spread Zephyrian forces thinner, making them vulnerable to coordinated attacks. Stricter security procedures slowed alien response times, giving human forces more opportunities to strike and escape. The turning point came when Frank Davis, a former auto mechanic turned saboteur, infiltrated a major Zephyrian supply depot. Davis had spent months studying alien logistics, learning how their automated systems distributed resources throughout the occupation fleet. They're completely dependent on their computers, he explained to his team. Everything is scheduled, tracked, and controlled by artificial intelligence. If you know how to talk to their machines, you can make them do anything. Davis didn't try to destroy the supply depot. Instead, he reprogrammed it. Weapons shipments were sent to the wrong locations. Food supplies were redirected to empty space. Medical equipment was delivered to combat zones where it was immediately destroyed by human raiders. The chaos spread throughout the Zephyrian fleet as their logistical system turned against them. Ships ran out of fuel in deep space. Weapons malfunctioned because they received the wrong ammunition. Medical bays filled with injured soldiers who couldn't be treated because supplies never arrived. Commander Vex Thalar watched his perfect conquest falling apart and couldn't understand why. Every report brought news of new failures, equipment malfunctions, and successful human attacks. His subordinates offered explanations that made no sense. "Sir, the humans seem to anticipate our movements," one officer reported. "They attack our weakest points with perfect timing, then disappear before we can respond." "Impossible," Vexthalar replied. "They don't have access to our communication networks. Their intelligence capabilities are primitive." But Tony Martinez was listening to every word through the hacked communication system. Human forces knew about Zephyrian plans hours before the aliens implemented them. Every military movement was predicted, every weakness exploited. The psychological impact on Zephyrian forces was enormous. Soldiers who had conquered dozens of worlds were being defeated by primitives using inferior technology. Their confidence cracked as they realized that superior weapons meant nothing if your enemy could think faster than you could. Shoot, Dr. Kesnovan finally managed to get a private meeting with Supreme Chancellor Quinn Wraith. The Zephyrian leader was growing impatient with the delays on Earth and wanted answers. "Chancellor, the humans are unlike any species we have encountered," Kesnovan explained desperately. "They learn from defeat faster than we learn from victory. Every setback makes them stronger, not weaker." The Chancellor's golden eyes narrowed dangerously. "Are you suggesting that our mighty empire cannot defeat a single primitive world?" "I'm suggesting that we underestimated them completely. Their creativity has no limits. They take our advanced technology and improve upon it using principles we never considered. They fight using tactics that make no logical sense but somehow work perfectly." Chancellor Quinn Wraith was not interested in excuses. "Dr. Kesnovan, you have been studying these humans for years. Find their weakness and exploit it. If you cannot do this, perhaps we need a new xenobiologist." The threat was clear. Kesnovan left the meeting knowing that his life depended on finding a way to defeat humanity. But everything he learned about humans made him more convinced that the Zephyrian Empire had made a terrible mistake. Back on Earth, Admiral Stone was planning humanity's first offensive operation beyond the solar system. The captured alien ships had given Earth forces the ability to travel faster than light, and intelligence gathered by Martinez revealed vulnerable Zephyrian targets. "We're not just defending anymore," Stone announced to his commanders. "It's time to take this fight to them. Let's show these aliens what happens when you threaten humanity's home." General Paul Wright had never commanded a fleet that included captured alien warships alongside human vessels, but desperate times called for creative solutions. Operation Homecoming was about to begin, and Wright felt the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. "Remember," he told his captains during the final briefing, "we're not trying to match their technology. We're using their own assumptions against them. They expect us to fight like every other species they've conquered. That's exactly why we're going to win." The human fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading for Zephyrian supply lines deep in enemy territory. The mixed fleet of captured alien ships and modified human vessels looked strange, but it represented something the galaxy had never seen before: human ingenuity combined with advanced technology. Frank Davis had volunteered to lead the sabotage teams for the operation. The former mechanic had become legendary among resistance fighters for his ability to turn any machine into a weapon. His target was the Zephyrian industrial world of Kepler 442b, a heavily automated planet that supplied weapons to the occupation fleet. "The beautiful thing about their automation," Davis explained to his team, "is that once you understand the system, you can make it destroy itself. We don't need to blow up their factories. We just need to convince their computers that blowing up is part of the manufacturing process." Meanwhile, Dr. Nancy Kim was preparing for the aliens' most desperate move. Intelligence suggested that the Zephyrians might resort to biological weapons when they realized they were losing. As Earth's leading expert in genetics and disease, Kim had been developing countermeasures for months. The aliens made one critical mistake, she told her research team. They assumed human biology would be as simple as other species they've conquered. They don't understand that our genetic diversity is our greatest defense. Lieutenant Alex Parker was only 24 years old, but she had already become humanity's most feared pilot. Her squadron flew the newest hybrid fighters, combining alien speed with human unpredictability. Their mission was to penetrate deep into Zephyrian space and strike at research facilities that had been considered untouchable. Flying alien fighters with human modifications is like riding a tornado, Parker told her wingman. The aliens built these things to be stable and predictable. We've made them fast and crazy. Hold on tight. The first phase of Operation Homecoming exceeded all expectations. Frank Davis and his saboteurs infiltrated Kepler 442b and began their work on the industrial computers. Within hours, weapons factories started producing defective ammunition. Shield generators began overloading randomly. Spaceship assembly lines started building vessels with missing parts. The Zephyrian administrators panicked as their perfect system collapsed around them. They tried shutting down individual factories, but the sabotage virus spread through their computer networks faster than they could contain it. Soon the entire industrial world was in chaos. "Sir, we're receiving reports from all our manufacturing centers," a technician reported to the planetary governor. "Production has stopped completely. The computers are malfunctioning in ways we've never seen." The governor, a logical Zephyrian who had managed industrial worlds for centuries, couldn't comprehend what was happening. "Run full diagnostic checks on all systems. There must be a technical explanation," but there was no technical explanation that made sense to alien minds. Frank Davis had used human creativity to turn their own machines into weapons of self-destruction. The concept was so foreign to Zephyrian thinking that they couldn't even understand what had been done to them. Lieutenant Parker's fighter squadron struck next, hitting the secret research facility on Vega Prime. The installation was protected by the most advanced defenses in the Zephyrian Empire, designed to stop any conventional attack. Parker's approach was anything but conventional. "All fighters. This is Phoenix Leader," she radioed to her squadron. "Remember, we're not trying to outfight their defenses. We're going to out-crazy them. Follow my lead and try not to think too hard about what we're doing." Parker dove her fighter directly toward the planet's surface at maximum speed, ignoring the defensive weapons that tracked her movement. At the last possible second, she activated the alien gravity drives in reverse, using the planet's own gravity to slingshot her fighter around the research facility. The defensive computers had no protocols for dealing with pilots who used planets as tactical weapons. Parker's maneuver was so dangerous that the alien artificial intelligence dismissed it as impossible, allowing the human fighters to slip through defenses that should have destroyed them instantly. The research facility contained detailed files on every species the Zephyrians had conquered, including their plans for humanity. Parker's team downloaded everything before destroying the installation with captured alien weapons. But the most valuable discovery was a complete database of Zephyrian weaknesses and the location of their government centers. For the first time, humanity knew exactly where to strike to cripple the enemy empire. Commander Vexthaler received the news of these defeats while dealing with another crisis. The biological weapons his scientists had deployed against Earth had backfired spectacularly. Dr. Nancy Kim's countermeasures had not only protected humanity but had somehow turned the alien plagues against Zephyrian forces. "How is this possible?" Vexthaler demanded of his science officer. "Our biological weapons were specifically designed to target human genetics. Sir, human genetic diversity is far greater than we calculated. Their immune systems adapt in ways we didn't predict. Worse, they've modified our own weapons to target Zephyrian biology instead." Vexthaler felt something he had never experienced before: genuine fear of defeat. Every advantage his empire possessed was being turned against them by an enemy that refused to follow any logical pattern of behavior. Dr. Kesnovan was no longer trying to convince his superiors that humans were dangerous. Instead, he was quietly preparing for what he saw as inevitable: the fall of the Zephyrian Empire. His years of studying humanity had taught him to respect their abilities, and now he faced a terrible choice. During a secret meeting, Admiral Stone made an offer that changed everything. "Dr. Kesnovan, we know you've been trying to warn your people about us from the beginning. We also know that not all Zephyrians are our enemies. Join us and help us end this war with as little bloodshed as possible." The alien scientist looked at the human admiral with something approaching admiration. Even while winning, the humans were thinking about minimizing casualties on both sides. It was a concept his own people had never considered during their conquests. "Admiral Stone, my people will never forgive me for this betrayal." "It's not betrayal if you're trying to save lives," Stone replied. "We don't want to destroy your species. We just want you to leave us alone." Dr. Kes Novan made his decision. He provided complete intelligence on Zephyrian military capabilities, government structures, and most importantly, the location of their homeworld. In return, he asked for only one thing: the chance to help negotiate a peace that might save both species. "I will help you," he said quietly, "but please remember that most of my people are not evil. They are simply incapable of understanding that they might be wrong." The final phase of Operation Homecoming was the most audacious move in human history. Using the intelligence provided by Dr. Kes Novan, human forces jumped directly into the Zephyrian home system, appearing without warning around their capital world. The psychological impact was devastating. For the first time in 1,000 years, enemy warships orbited the Zephyrian homeworld. The species that had conquered dozens of star systems now faced the possibility of their own destruction. Supreme Chancellor Quinn Wraith stared at the tactical displays in disbelief. Human ships, many of them obviously modified Zephyrian vessels, surrounded his planet like predators circling wounded prey. "How did they find us?" he whispered. The answer came in the form of a transmission from Admiral Stone himself. "Chancellor Quinn Wraith, this is Admiral Rick Stone of the Earth Defense Force. We're here to discuss the terms of your surrender." For the first time in Zephyrian history, they were the ones being offered surrender terms. The empire that had dismissed humanity as primitive was now facing conquest by the very species they had tried to destroy. President Helen Moore had never imagined she would be making decisions that would affect the future of two entire species. As Earth's wartime leader, she stood in the command center watching human ships surround the Zephyrian homeworld. The power to destroy an entire civilization was now in humanity's hands. President Moore, Admiral Jake Miller, reported, "All human fleets are in position. We have complete control of their space defenses. The aliens cannot escape." Miller had come a long way from his days as a cargo ship captain. His discovery of the alien probe had started this war, and now he commanded the fleet that would end it. The irony was not lost on him. "Any word from their government?" Moore asked. "Chancellor Quinn Wraith has agreed to negotiations. He's requesting safe passage to discuss surrender terms." Moore nodded, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. How she handled the next few hours would determine whether this war ended with mercy or massacre. On the surface of the Zephyrian homeworld, panic gripped the civilian population for the first time in their species' recorded history. They had always been the conquerors, never the conquered. The sight of alien warships in their skies was beyond their comprehension. Supreme Chancellor Quinn Wraith stood in his palace, staring up at the human fleet through reinforced windows. His golden eyes, once filled with arrogant confidence, now showed only confusion and fear. "How is this possible?" he asked Dr. Kes Novan, who had returned under human protection to serve as translator. "We are the superior species. Our technology is advanced beyond their understanding." Dr. Kes Novan looked at his former leader with something approaching pity. "Chancellor, I tried to warn you years ago. The humans are not superior because of their technology. They are superior because they never stop learning, never stop adapting, and never stop believing they can win." Commander Vexthaler entered the chamber, his military uniform torn and stained from the final battle. His perfect tactical mind had been shattered by defeats that made no sense according to every principle of warfare he had ever studied. "Chancellor, our remaining fleets have surrendered," he reported in a broken voice. "The humans didn't defeat us through superior firepower. They defeated us by making us defeat ourselves." President Moore's shuttle landed in the palace courtyard, surrounded by human marines in captured Zephyrian armor. The symbolism was intentional, humans using alien technology better than its creators ever could. As Moore walked through the alien palace, she was struck by its cold perfection. Everything was mathematically precise, logically arranged, and utterly without creativity or warmth. It was beautiful in its way, but it felt dead. The negotiations took place in the same chamber where Dr. Kes-Novan had tried to warn the High Council about humanity years earlier. The irony was not lost on anyone present. "Chancellor Quinn Wraith," President Moore began, "your empire attempted to conquer and enslave my people. By all rights, we could destroy your civilization as you intended to destroy ours." The Zephyrian leader trembled, expecting the same merciless treatment his empire had given to other conquered species. His entire worldview had collapsed when faced with an enemy that thought in ways he could not understand. "However," Moore continued, "humanity believes in giving people the chance to learn from their mistakes. We offer you a choice." She activated a holographic display showing the current state of the Zephyrian Empire. Human forces controlled every major system, every supply line, every military installation. You can choose total war and watch your civilization be destroyed completely, or you can choose to learn from this defeat and build something better. Chancellor Quinn Wraith looked around the chamber at his advisors. Commander Vexthalar stared at the floor, his military pride completely broken. The other council members seemed lost, unable to process the concept that their victims were offering them mercy. "What do you want from us?" the Chancellor asked weakly. "We want you to understand that strength comes from diversity, not uniformity, that creativity is more valuable than rigid thinking, that cooperation works better than conquest." Dr. Kes-Novan, now serving as humanities translator, added his own perspective. "Chancellor, I have learned more about the universe in the past year working with humans than I did in centuries of Zephyrian education. They are not offering us surrender terms. They are offering us the chance to become better than we were." The final terms were surprisingly generous. The Zephyrian Empire would be dissolved, but the Zephyrian people would be allowed to rebuild their society under human guidance. War criminals would face justice, but most citizens would be given the chance to start over. Most importantly, a new alliance would be formed between the two species. Humans would share their adaptability and creativity, while Zephyrians would contribute their advanced technology and scientific knowledge. "Why?" Commander Vexthalar asked during one of the final meetings. "Why show mercy to enemies who would have destroyed you?" President Moore smiled, the first genuine expression of warmth the aliens had seen from any human. "Because that's what makes us human. We fight fiercely when threatened, but we also know when to stop fighting and start building something better." The transformation began immediately. Dr. Kes-Novan became the first Zephyrian to adopt a human name, calling himself Dr. Kevin Noble. He established schools where young Zephyrians could learn alongside human children, teaching them that different ways of thinking were strengths, not weaknesses. On Earth, captured Zephyrian scientists worked with human researchers to develop technologies that neither species could have created alone. The rigid alien logic combined with human creativity produced innovations that seemed like magic. Frank Davis, the mechanic turned saboteur, became an instructor at the new Interspecies Engineering Institute. He taught young Zephyrians how to think outside the rules, how to see possibilities that their logical minds might miss. "The secret," he told his mixed classes of human and alien students, "is learning that there's always another way to solve a problem. If something seems impossible, you just haven't been creative enough yet." Lieutenant Alex Parker retired from military service and became a pilot instructor, teaching both humans and Zephyrians how to fly the new hybrid spacecraft that combined the best of both technologies. Admiral Stone established the Interstellar Defense Coalition, with former enemies serving alongside each other to protect both species from future threats. Commander Vexthalar, after years of therapy and retraining, eventually became one of the coalition's most effective strategic planners. "I spent my entire life believing that conquest was strength," he reflected, during a ceremony honoring both human and Zephyrian heroes. "The humans taught me that true strength comes from building something together instead of tearing others down." But perhaps the most significant change came in the Zephyrian education system. Children who had been raised to value logic above all else now learned to appreciate art, music, and creative expression. They discovered that emotions were not weaknesses to be suppressed, but sources of strength and inspiration. Dr. Kevin Noble, formerly Dr. Kes-Novan, watched his species' children playing with human kids in the palace gardens that had once symbolized cold perfection. The gardens were different now, filled with flowers chosen for beauty rather than mathematical precision. paths that curved naturally instead of following straight lines. "You know," he told President Moore during one of their regular meetings, "I think we might have been the primitive ones after all." Moore laughed, a sound that still amazed Zephyrians with its spontaneous warmth. "Dr. Noble, I think we were both primitive in our own ways. The important thing is that we're learning to be better." Years later, when new alien species encountered the human Zephyrian alliance, they found something unprecedented in galactic history. A civilization that had grown stronger through diversity, wiser through cooperation, and more advanced through the combination of different ways of thinking. The story of humanity's victory over the Zephyrian Empire became a legend told throughout the galaxy. But the real lesson was not about human superiority. It was about the power of second chances, the strength found in unity, and the simple truth that the best way to defeat an enemy is to turn them into a friend. In the end, the warnings about Earth had been completely accurate. Humanity was indeed the most dangerous species in the galaxy, dangerous to tyranny, dangerous to cruelty, and dangerous to the idea that might makes right. But they were also the most hopeful species, proving that even the greatest conflicts could end with understanding instead of destruction. The Zephyrian Empire had fallen, but something better had risen in its place. A future where differences were celebrated, creativity was valued, and the strongest weapon was not superior technology, but the willingness to believe that tomorrow could be better than today.